Okay, let's work on this notify all voters feature, which should send out an email to everyone who voted for this idea whenever the status is changed by the admin. So let's work on that. Let's add a new piece of state to check if that box is checked. So notify all voters, and let's wire model that up here in our checkbox. So wire model notify all voters. Okay. And I'm going to remove this checked too. Okay. Now in the set status, we can check for that after we update the status. So let's say if this notify all voters, then go ahead and do that. So I'm going to put it in a helper method for now. So this notify all voters as a method, and then later on we'll move it to a job. So let's grab this, let's make a new method here. Notify all voters, okay. And we need all the users that voted for this idea. And we already have that relationship on the idea, so let's go ahead and grab it. And let's die and dump it to see if we are getting the correct thing, okay. So let's see if I did this correctly. Back here, refresh, change the status, notify all voters. And let's go ahead and update. Okay, so we do get 2 users, and these 2 users voted for this idea. So let's go ahead and loop over these users and send them an email. So first, I'm going to just grab the name in the email. So let me change this to a method. Let's select, actually let's put this on its own line. Let's select just a name and email. And let's go ahead and change it to a collection. So use get here. And let's assign this to a variable called voters. Okay. And now we can loop over all of these voters. So for each, say voters, say as user, then send out an email here. Let's just dump the user to see if we did that correctly as well. Okay. Back here, refresh. Change the status, update. I forgot to check the box. Change the status, update. Check the box and then update. There we go. So we do get the 2 users, and we're only getting their name and their email back, which is all we need to send the email. So this is fine, but if we have a large number of votes, then this may cause issues if we're loading too many users into memory at the same time. So say, for example, we had an idea with thousands of votes. And at this scale, it probably won't be an issue. But say we did, let's say millions. So we'd have to load millions of users into memory at once, and you might hit the memory limit. So how can we change that? So the easiest solution would be to chunk the data and process it in different chunks. So let's do that. So let's say chunk, and just give it a number. And I'll just do 100. So we'll process it 100 items at a time. And then the second argument is a callback. Voters, and in here we can just put this in there. So let me move that. Okay, and we don't need the get anymore. So this should work exactly the same way, but if we have more than 100 users, then it should process them 100 at a time in different chunks. And we no longer need this variable as well. So let's get rid of this, and let's try this out. Again, it should be the same thing because we only have 2 users here. Change the status, notify all voters, and we do get the same thing. Okay, so here is where we want to send the email out. So send email. So let's go ahead and make a mailable. So say PHP artisan make mail. Let's call it idea status updated mailable. And I want it to be markdown mail, so we'll do markdown equals, let's say emails dot idea status updated. Okay. Sorry, I meant to put a dash here instead of a dot. So yeah, let me just delete what I did and redo it because it already exists. So I just deleted them. Let's do it again with the correct dash. Okay. So let's go ahead and send the email here. So we can use the mail facade here. Mail to, we're sending it to the user. And let's use the queue method. Usually you want to make use of queues when you're sending out email. And the mailable we're using is the idea status updated mailable, okay? And we're gonna pass in the idea here. Okay. Let's also make sure to import mail. And right now the mail driver is sent or set to the default or mail mailer. So let's set it to log for now. Okay. And our queue driver is set to default, which is sync. And again, we'll just leave this for now, and then later on we'll move it to Redis using Horizon. Okay, so let's go into our mailable. So idea status updated mailable. And let's go ahead and accept the idea here. So let me just use this, say idea, and let me just type in this with the idea and import it. Okay, and that should be good. Actually, let's make this public. Okay, and now let's work on the markdown email. So idea status updated. Okay, let's change this title or header to idea status updated. And let's say something simple here. The idea, and we have the idea here, so we can say idea title. Say has been updated to a status of, and then we can do the status here. So again, we can grab that from the idea status name. And this is a button. Let's take them to the actual idea page. So let's say view idea, and then we can just use the route helper and say idea.show. And then pass in the idea. Okay, this is fine, and that looks pretty good. I think we also have to set our mail, where is it? Our mail from address here. So let's just put something in here. Okay, and hopefully I did everything correctly. Let's go ahead and try it out in the browser. So let's refresh this. Let's change it to implemented. Let's check this box. Let's update. Okay, so that did look like it worked. Let's check the logs to check if the email did get sent out. So laravel.log. I think you have to open it once in VS Code for it to show up in Command P. So let's go ahead and do that. So it's in the storage, app, logs, laravel.log. Should have cleared it first, but if we go all the way down, let's see if there's emails that are sent out, and it looks like there is. So here's one from admin@admin.com to this person, and I believe there's one up here too that goes to the other person. And if you remember, there's only 2 voters here, so there should only be 2 emails. If you go up here, yeah, it looks like there is. So yeah, here's the other one. So yeah, it looks like it is working. So I want to see what the actual email looks like and if the button works. Well, we can see that in here as well. Where's the button? You can see that the link is correct here, but I actually want to see it rendered out. So I'm going to use this mail client, which is my go-to testing method when I'm working with emails locally in development. So let's go to settings and let's add this in. And then it should catch emails in this client instead of the log. So let's go back to our environment file. Let's paste that in and let's comment these out. So up to encryption, okay? And this should now work in this mail client. So one more time, let's refresh. Let's change the status. Let's check the box. Let's update. And there you see 2 emails. And if we look here, we get those 2 emails and you can see it rendered out here. And it looks like I forgot to set the subject, so we'll do that in a second. But the email does render out correctly and is sent out to the correct people. So if we view idea, it does open that idea. Okay. So you can change the mail from name as well. So you can see it's from Laravel, which is the app name. You can change that in the environment file here. So mail from name. So we can set the subject in the mailable. So let's go to that. And we can do it here. So before we call the markdown method, let's call the subject method and set the subject here. So an idea you voted for has a new status. Okay. Let's save that and let's try it again. Actually, let me try a different idea which has more votes. So let's try this one, it has 21. Now this should take a while because our queue driver is set to sync. So I also want to check if there is a disabled style here while it's loading. So let's actually work on that before we send the mail out. So that should be in set status. So let's go to that. So it's this button here. So let's disable it manually. And let's add a disabled style here. So disabled, say opacity 50, I think is good. Let's see if it, yeah, it does. Okay. So let's see if it shows this style when it's being processed. And Livewire does disable the button when it makes a request. So it does that for us automatically. So let's remove the disabled state. And let's go ahead and try this out. Okay, let me refresh. Change the progress here, or the status, to implemented. Let's go ahead and notify all voters, and this should take some time. And there you see the disabled state while it's processing, and you can see all the mail coming in. So there should be 21 emails here, and it looks like there is. The subject has changed, and everything seems to be working. Cool. So yeah, in the next video, we'll move some logic to an actual job. Like you saw earlier, right now it's just on a method here on the set status Livewire component. So we'll move this to a job. We'll also use Horizon for queues, and then we'll test everything. So as always, let's make a commit here. This is episode 34. Git add, git commit. Episode 34. Say set status, notify all voters. Sorry, 34.